Now my husband Jack will continue to reflect on the work of restoration and the mission of the patrons.
In June of 2012, Ann said, "Why don't you come to the patrons trip?" She said Jack Wall will be there, Father Jack Wall, who's the chaplain of the patrons, and I said, "I'm in." And so I found myself a couple weeks later on the rooftop of the Hotel Minerva in the historic district, sipping wine with all the other patrons and getting ready for the trip. And as we do that, they went around, they were talking about why we're there and what we were looking for. And when it came to me, I simply said, "Ann brung me." I was accused of being arm candy. The morning we went to the patrons, to the Vatican Museums, we show up around 8 o'clock. There's already a line, a block long, 10 abreast, of every person from every place in the world. And as a patron, you sidle up in front, and you get to go in a side door and receive the resentful gaze of all these people. And once you get inside, you go around from gallery to gallery with a docent from the patron's office in Rome, and they tell you the technical material about a painting, its cultural significance, and they give you some real good gossip too. Why this guy over here doesn't have an ear in this painting, so you get the whole picture. And then we went into the labs. Now, I don't know what I expected in the labs. I thought maybe we'd just walk right through. But as soon as we went into a lab, and there all of a sudden, 15, 20 people in white coats appear, and they gather around you, and then someone comes who can either speak English or someone who can translate the Italian into English, and they take what they're working on, or one of the pieces they're working on, and they tell you everything that's going on. And as you looked around at these people, as then you quickly got your picture taken with them, as you looked around, you realized something, or I realized something, that they weren't looking at benefactors. They were looking at partners. And they were very congenial. There were no cell phones out. There was no looks on their face like they'd rather be someplace else. And this went on from lab to lab. And one time I had sort of a little sidebar. I was overlooking at something which I didn't know what it was. It was about 5 foot high. It turned out to be a statue. It was wrapped in cellophane and tied very tightly at the top. And I couldn't see exactly what it was. And suddenly standing next to me, there was a man in a white coat. He said, "10th century statue of Bishop." I said, "Why is he in a bag?" "Kill bugs. Can't restore wood and paint till bugs dead." I said, "How long does he have to be in the bag?" He said, 9 months. I said, 9 months? This is very patient work. And he looked at me and he smiled, and then he was looking for a word. And his hands were going, and he was looking for a word, and he finally got it. And the word was painstaking. And then he smiled. That night, where? On the rooftop of the Minerva, with what? A glass of wine. We reflect on the experience of what's going on, and I find out that there are 14 of museums, and that it isn't just Christian, it's very, very wide. And I find out that the Illinois chapter, as you'll see on the back of the brochure that we have here, has restored wonderful paintings from the Christian communities of the past, but also has restored things from the 6 panels from the Hindu world, and has done a statue of a figurine of a Buddhist goddess Gwen, and has done kakimonos from Japan. And all of a sudden you realize these museums and this restoration is sort of the home of the human. And this was June of 2012, and this was the beginning of the 50th anniversary of the Second Vatican Council. And one of the quotes that is most quoted from the Second Vatican Council is the opening paragraph of the Pastoral Constitution of the Church in the Modern World, where it simply says, "The joys and hopes, the griefs and anxieties of people today are the joys and hopes, the griefs and anxieties of the followers of Christ. There is nothing human that does not find an echo in this community of faith. And that is why this community of persons is bonded to the history of humankind by the deepest and most powerful connections." And I thought to myself, that really describes these museums. This really describes what the Vatican is about. It's what they called the ministry ad extra into the world, the way the church gives itself into the world as a service for the best the world can be. We oftentimes talk about education as a ministry ad extra that does that, a ministry outside itself, and healthcare and Catholic charities and Catholic relief services. But here, I was wondering, could there be a restoration of art that would be a ministry ad extra to the world, that it would save the best the world of the past had to offer and raise it up and restore it to defy time and to defy loss, and to allow us entry through these artifacts into those past worlds and make our world deeper and more compassionate because of it? Is that what this restoration game is really all about? Are we really holding on to the hand of the past and holding on to the hand of the future, and we cannot let go of the hand of the past and just reach for our own hands and the hands of the future? And was this down deep, the smile on that restorer's face when his hands were going and he was saying, "Painstaking," but there wasn't any drudgery in that word. That word was just about something that he loved to do. Whenever the church does something, it always comes out of deep faith convictions and values. And the deep faith convictions and values that generate the restoration of art is that the divine source has loved every generation of people who have ever been. And in their response, they have created many beautiful things. And to find that beauty and restore that beauty and hold it up and allow us to enter into that beauty and grow by taking what we find within that beauty back into our own lives, that's not a bad thing to do. And that's what restoration is about. I remember in Cat's Cradle, the novel, there was a section called How God Made the World, and it was a division between what he called charis and granfalloons. Granfalloons were groups of people who thought they were important, but charis were folks who were doing things because they seemed to be right in a deep and powerful way. And they were connected by bonds that oftentimes were not clear. And tonight we are in a courtyard in Chicago, but the patrons are in most of the countries of the world. And they are sort of, I get to think of them a little bit as a charis, a group of people who are serving a deep, powerful, divine purpose in life to keep the glory and beauty of the past present to us today. And so here's the pitch. Oh, you okay? You ready for the pitch? Here's the pitch. if you're not a patron, think about it. Why not? This is a chorus. This is a wonderful, wonderful work. Okay? If you are a patron, think about getting more and more involved with these restoration ideas. And if you are a patron, go to Rome and see it firsthand, because by now the bishop is out of the bag and he wants to talk to you. Thank you very much.